Good morning, all, again in my next session. So, as we are discussing about the course curriculum, a particular topic in the course curriculum, animal bioscience, animal biology, for all the BSc students. In our previous two classes, we discussed about the classification of animals. We started with classification of invertebrates and the general characteristic points, why it is important. So to understand all these things, definitely I will suggest all of you to please first go through the previous two videos, and it will help you. It's like a continuation video, so it will definitely help you to understand the topic, and why we are actually uh, you know discussing this particular topic, how it is being important. And definitely uh, it's a continuation. So if you go through the first two videos, then it will be helpful for you to further understand this particular video. So we already discussed about the classification of invertebrates, and why it is important, the general characteristic points, the general classification scheme. Then in the previous two classes, we talked about the phylum Protozoa, so subkingdom Protozoa, then phylum Porifera, and then phylum Nidaria and Ctenophora. So up to that we completed. So in this particular video, we will start with the next phylum, that is phylum Platyhelminthes. So first, let me share my screen again. Okay. So, uh, so let us start with the phylum Platyhelminthes. Now, in the evolutionary process, the evolution of mesoderm, that is the third layer between the ectoderm and endoderm, has further resulted in the structure complexities coupled with increase in size. So animals built on this three-layered foundation have been designated as triploblastic animals. Phylum Platyhelminthes is considered to be one of the most primitive triploblastic group. The word platyhelminthes comes from the Greek word platys means flat and helminth means worm. And that is why this group is commonly being known as flatworms, or all the animals that belongs to this particular group are being commonly termed as flatworms. There are about 2,500 species of platyhelminthes been discovered so far, for of which the most well known is Tinea sp. We all know that, which is known as flatworm, which is the common host is human. So let us first talk about the general characteristic points before going into the details of the classification. Definitely kingdom Animalia, habitat mostly parasitic, few are free living in seawater or fresh water. Complexity of organization, organ system, grade of organization. So you can now start having definite organ system and specific organs for performing specific functions. Symmetry, bilateral symmetry, the body is dorso-ventrally flattened. So now from this group onwards, you can actually find out the radial symmetry being completely, uh, you know, replaced by the bilateral symmetry. So it's predominant. Bilateral symmetry is predominant. Germ layer triploblastic ectoderm is very specialized with distinct epidermis. Coelom absent, still absent. So these are also known as acylomate. Digestive system incomplete or absent in tapeworm. Direct absorption of soluble nutrients by cells and tissues. Nervous system, ladder-like nervous system present. No mouth, so oral opening directly into the pharynx. Okay. No true stomach structure. So pharynx opens into a complex intestinal structure. excretory system, protonephridia with flame cell, respiration by simple diffusion of gases through the body surface. Circulatory system absent. Reproduction, self-fertilization occurs in flatworm, example tapeworm. Sexual, that is by gametic fusion in hermaphrodite species. Asexual, by generation and fission. Fertilization, internal. Life cycle, complex involving, so the life cycle is definitely complex, involving one or more hosts and with one or more larval stages. In liver fluke, mycetium, sporocyst, radia, sarcaria, and metacercaria larvae are present. In tapeworm, oncosphere, hexacanth, and cysticercus larvae are found. So there are many different larval stages. Okay. And also multiple hosts are being present, like they could have digenic life cycle. So basically their asexual phase can be completed, is being completed in one host, and the sexual phase is completed in another host. An example, very common example is tinea life cycle of tinea, which we will discuss later after completing these topics, or the basic classification system of both invertebrates and vertebrates. These are special topics that need to be discussed. So this is the basic class general characteristics of Platyhelminthes phylum. Now let us talk about the classes, or the classical or the classification of Platyhelminthes phylum. So Platyhelminthes can be further subdivided into four classes: Trabellaria, Trematoda, Monogynia, and Cystoda. And these are again being subdivided into more subclasses. So let us first start with the class 1, that is Trabellaria. Now the general characteristic points are mostly free living, but some ectocommensals and endocommensals or parasitic called worms. Terrestrial, marine or freshwater their habitat, body unsegmented and covered with ciliated cellular or syncytial epidermis. Mouth ventral, intestine preceded by the muscular pharynx. Adhesive organs are absent, like hooks and suckers. So as most of the turbellarians are free living and few of them are actually parasitic, so in general the parasitic adaptations, or the adaptations or modifications of the organs which are present in the parasites, that are not generally being present in most of the turbellarians, like the hooks and suckers, which they need for their adherence and to collect the nutrients from the host body. Locomotion mainly by cilia. Life cycle simple. That means no involvement of larval stages. Example, Planaria sp, which is commonly known as freshwater flatworm, and Anaperus sp, marine water flatworm. Class 2 is Trematoda. Characteristics are ectoparasites or endoparasitic, commonly called flukes. Body unsegmented, dorsoventrally flattened, leaf-like. Body covered with cuticle, cilia and epidermis absent, suckers and acetabulum present for attachment. A well-developed gut is present, but anus absent. Development direct in ectoparasites or indirect in endoparasites with alteration of host. So the life cycle is actually becoming complicated. Plus, Trematoda can further be subdivided into two subclasses. One is Digyenia and the other one is Aspidogastra. So the first general characteristic points of first subclass, that is Digyenia. The Digyenian life cycle is indirect and involves two or four different hosts and a number of developmental stages comprising of three or four types of larvae. Examples of larvae like Myricidium larva, Sporocyst, Radia, and Sarcaria. Example is Fasciola species, which is commonly known as liver fluke. Subclass 2, which is Aspidogastra, they bear mostly endoparasites in the gut fish. So they are mostly the endoparasites for the fishes. So basically, they actually present in the gut of the fish and reptiles and in the pericardial and cavities of bivalve mollusks. So basically, their hosts are like different other adva or advanced invertebrates like like molluscas and also like chordates like fish and reptiles. Example Aspidogaster species. Class 3, class third of the class of the next class is Monogenia. Monogenia mostly ectoparasites in cold-blooded aquatic vertebrates. Oral suckers either weak or absent. Anterior end provided with a pair of adhesive suckers or structures known as hooks. Male and female gonopore usually separate only one host in the life cycle. So it's a monogenic life cycle, and from that, the whole class is being is being given that name monogenia. Free swimming ciliated larva called Onchomyracidium larva. Example, Polystoma species found in the bladder of frogs. Class 4, the last class is Cystoidea, and the characteristics are endoparasitic in the intestine of vertebrates, body without epidermis and cilia but covered with cuticle. Organs of attachment in the form of hooks and suckers present. Mouth, digestive system, and sensory organs are totally absent. Each mature segment or proglottids are monoecious with male and female organ. Cystoda can be further subdivided into two subclasses. The first one is Eucystoda and the second one is Cystodaria. Subclass 1 Eucystoda, commonly called tapeworm, body divided into many segments known as proglottids, but rarely undivided, elongated, flat, and ribbon-like. Body consists of three organs: scolex, neck, and strobila. Anterior end, which is scolex, is provided with adhesive structures like hooks and suckers. Example, Tinea solium, which is known as pork tapeworm, and Tinea saginata, which is known as beef tapeworm. Subclass 2 is Cystoderia, body small and undivided, absence of scolex, larva is with 10 hooks. Amphilina species, parasite on sturgeon fish. So this is in a nutshell about the phylum Platyhelminthes. Now we'll move into the next phylum Aschelminthes. Now phylum Aschelminthes is being the next in the evolutionary ladder, and the Aschelminthes, also known as Nemathelminthes, or nematodes, commonly known as nematodes. Closely associated with the platyhelminthes are an obsolete phylum of pseudocoelomate and other similar animals. They are that are no longer considered closely related. So initially what happens is that previously, due to the morphological similarities or superficial morphological similarities, both of them actually considered very closely related or even being considered in the same phylum or commonly known as helminths. But now with the development of the tools techniques, now it has been found that they are not really closely related, and they are a completely separate phylum from that of the platyhelminthes phylum. The term aschelminth is now generally only used as an informal name for any member of the approximately 10 different invertebrate phyla formerly included within aschelminths. So it is a polyphyletic group. Now we consider this as a polyphyletic group. The word aschelminths comes from the Greek word askos, means cavity, and helminth means worm. So basically in this group we will find that aschelminths are actually having a coelom kind of a thing, but it's not a true coelom, it's a pseudocoelom. And because of the fact that it's not being completely, you know it's not a true coelom, but it's a coelom like structure, and that is why they are being considered as a pseudocoelomate. There is a very diverse animal phyla. This is a very actually diverse animal phyla. It has more than 80,000 known species, of which the most well known is, we all know, that Ascaris species. So now, before moving into the characteristic classification scheme, let us first discuss about the general characteristic points. Kingdom, definitely Animalia. Habitat, they are marine or freshwater animal. Habit, they are endoparasites. Coelom, pseudocoelomate, which means they have a cavity called pseudocoel, as it is neither formed in mesoderm nor it is lined by the mesodermal peritoneum. It is called so. Okay, so it is present actually between the gut and the body wall. Symmetry bilateral, germ layer triploblastic. Complexity of organization, organ system grade. Body segment, they are non-segmented, round worm. Body covering, their body is covered with cuticle. Digestive system, simple type. The mouth is actually provided with hooks and suckers. I already discussed that because of most of them are actually parasitic in nature. So to adhere with the, like, it is also same for the platyhelminthes group also. So basically you will find that in these groups, as they are mostly parasites or parasitic in nature, to stuck to the host body and to get the nutrition and everything, they are being provided with hooks and suckers kind of things. Respiratory system absent, circulatory system absent, excretory system, protonephridia and canals. They are unisexual or dioecious in animals. So starting from the Aschelminthis group, you can actually start finding the separate animals with separate sexes, like male Ascaris and female Ascaris are present. So this is a huge jump in the reproductive process in case of evolution. Reproduction sexual by gametic fusion. As you can see, it's completely now becoming sexual, and completely the asexual mode of reproduction is being obsolete. Fertilization internal. So these are the few general characteristic points about Aschelminthis phylum. Now, if we talk about the basic classification scheme, so basically the phylum Aschelminthis has been divided into different classes. So let us first talk about the class 1, Nematoda. Nema means thread and helminth means worm. So they are thread worms. They are endoparasites. Body is bilaterally symmetrical and vermiform. Body covered in a complex cuticle. Sexes are separate. Example, Ascaris species, roundworm, commonly known as roundworm. Also another example is Wuchereria species. Second class is Nematomorpha. They are long, slender, unsegmented worm, known as, also commonly known as hairworm. Sexes are separate. Examples are Nectonema species, Gardia species, Paragaudium species. As you can see, there are lots of examples. Class 3 is Rotifera. They are minute, microscopic, and aquatic animal. Sexes are again separate in Rotifera also. Excretion, two protonephridia tubes. Examples, Rotaria species, Phylodina species, Branchiona species, etc. Class 4 is Gastrotricha. They are minute, aquatic, free-living animals. Sexes are separated or united. Excretory organ either can both be present or absent depending on the type of species. Examples are Tarbanella species. This is example of Gastrotricha group. Exa class 5, Chinorhyncha, minute microscopic marine animal. Body is internally segmented. Sexes are separate. Development indirect, that means through larval forms. Examples are Echinoderas species or Centroderas species. So this is all about the phylum Aschelminthes. So next we will talk about the phylum, which is next is phylum Annelida. So basically, so far we have covered starting from phylum, sorry, not phylum, subkingdom Protozoa, which is the primitive most animal. Then after Protozoa, we talked about phylum Porifera. Then we talked about phylum Platyhelminthes, Aschelminth, sorry. Then we talked about Nidaria, Ctenophora, Platyhelminthes. Now Aschelminthes has been completed. And now we will go to the next phylum, which is phylum Annelida. Okay. Now, to talk about phylum Annelida, the phylum Annelida exhibits a great diversity of body form. They are segmented worms and are thus distinguished from other worms like flatworm or roundworm, that means Platyhelminthes group or Aschelminthes group, and so on. So this is one of the most important characteristics which defines phylum Annelida, that is the segmentation between the body parts. The word Annelida comes from Greek word annulus, means little ring, or little ring kind of forms, and annulus means to arrange in ring. So basically their body is segmented in a small ring kind of structures, and it is very much evident from their external morphology also. It looks like different ring like body parts are being attached with each other, forming the complete structure. This phylum contains over 15,000 known species, of which the most commonly known as earthworms and leeches. So let us first talk about the general characteristic points before moving into the classification scheme. Definitely kingdom Animalia, habitat mostly aquatic, some are terrestrial. Habit free living, symmetry bilaterally symmetrical. coelom, coelomate. Body cavity is true coelom, often divided by internal septa. So now, starting from the phylum Annelida, all the animals are actually being true coelomates. So this is being a new evolutionary change that occurs in the animal kingdom. Body is metamerically segmented, which is known as metamerism, and which is one of the most important characteristics of this particular group, and also a special topic to be discussed later. Complexity of organization, organ system grade, germ layer triploblastic, body possesses three separate sections: prosomium, trunk, and pygidium, which is the last part of the body. Digestive system complete and developed, that means both the mouth and anus are present. Respiration generally by body surface. Nervous system with an anterior nerve ring, ganglia, and a ventral nervous cord. So now you can also see that the nervous system is also becoming complicated. It's not like a simple sensory organ is there. So you can now start having see the development of ganglia, nerve cords, kind of things are being trying developed, and gradually the nervous system will become much more complex, and it's a full grown nervous system you will find in the next few phylums. Circulatory system has a true closed circulatory system, starting from the mouth and no, not sorry. So it's like an complete circulatory system which is completely being present, which is not being present in the previous groups. uh, Digestive system is actually starting with mouth and ends with anus, and basically it's a complete and fully grown digestive system which is present. Now excretion through nephridia, fertilization internal or external, development direct with no larval stages, or sometimes via a free living trochophore larval stage. So these are the general characteristic points of the phylum Annelida. Now let us get into the classification scheme, and the phylum Annelida can be further subdivided into few classes. The first one is class 1 Polychaeta. General points are predominantly marine with errant and sedentary habit. Errant species exhibit swimming, crawling, and burrowing activities or tube dwelling activities or habitat, while sedentary polychaetes are either burrowers or tube dwellers. The clitellum is absent. Head consist of prostomium and peristomium and bear eyes, tentacles, cirri, and palps. Sexes separate, general gonads temporary, and in many segments. So it's not like all the organs are actually being present in all the different segments. Most of the cases, the you will find that the digestive system is complete and it's like through all the segments. The circulatory system is also complete, but like say the reproductive organs are actually being present in few of the segments, but not all in the not in all the segments or metabolic structures. Yeah. uh, Trochophore larva is present. So basically these are the general characteristic points in to define phylum Annelida. Now let us talk about the you know so we already talked about the first class, that is the class 1, which is Polychaeta. Now class Polychaeta can be further subdivided into two subclasses. First one is Errantia and the second one is Sedentaria. Now subclass 1 Errantia, definitely in the general characteristic points we discussed about that. So Errantia, as you can actually uh, get an idea, from the name itself that they are errant, having errant habitat or errant species. That means free swimming, crawling, burrowing, or the tube dwelling and predatory polychaetes. Segmentation similar except at anterior and posterior ends, with prostomium having distinct sensory organ. Example, Nereis species or Aphrodite species. Subclass 2, Sedentaria, burrowing and tube dwelling forms, body made up of two or more regions with unlike segments and parapodia. So basically, in case of Sedentaria, the segment size are not very same, but in case of Erantia, it's similar. And prostomium is small. Examples, Phytopteras species. Class 2, or the second class, is Oligochaeta, mostly terrestrial or some freshwater forms, body with conspicuous external and internal segmentation, head indistinct without sensory organs, city view enabled embedded in the skin, parapodia absent, glandular clitellum present for cocoon formation. The pharynx is not irreversible and without jaws. Development is direct, no larval stage in Oligochaeta. Example, very well known Ferritima species, Ubifex species. Ferritima species is commonly known as earthworm, and Lumbrica species. Class 3, Hirudinea. Mostly ectoparasites, blood sucking or carnivorous. You are marine, freshwater, or terrestrial. The body is elongated and usually flattened and dorsoventrally or cylindrical. The body consists of a fixed number of segments, 33. Each segment breaks up into 2 or 4 rings or annuli. Segmentation external without internal septa. Parapodia and setae are absent. Both anterior and posterior ends of the body with ventrally situated suckers. The mouth opens on the ventral surface on anterior suckers, while anus opens dorsal to the posterior suckers. Eggs are always had in cocoons. Development is direct without a free living or free swimming larval form. Examples, Hirudinaria species, commonly known as leeches. There is, the last class that you can see, Archaeannelida. The Archaeannelida class has become extinct. This class, this is one of the most primitive form of annelids, which are now extinct as per the knowledge. Definitely no, in the last few decades, no such new archaeannelids have been found out. But it could be possible because new every year there are many new species are being uh, you know discovered, and people now can actually go into much deeper places under the water, and even in the terrestrial places which has not been previously being explored. So it could probably happen that a new group or a new species in archaeannelid could be found out. But so far, the knowledge, according to the knowledge, this particular group has become extinct. Those were exclusively marine forms, the Orla archaeannelids, those were exclusively marine forms, and development was through typical trophophore larva. That was the important characteristics of this particular class. And example is Polygordia species. Definitely, this particular species had not been present in the modern world. So in this particular class, we let me stop sharing. So in this particular class, we already talked about three different phylum. Phylum Platyhelminthes, as Aschelminthes, uh, you know, Annelida, and then also, you know, so the next phylum, in the next class, we will start talking about the next more advanced invertebrates, and we'll start with the phylum Arthropoda. So in this class, I will end this class particularly in this note, and hope you will enjoy this particular class. So thank you and goodbye for now, and see you in the next class with a new session. Thank you.